personal branding is going to become, it's not an option anymore. It's not non-negotiable. It's like if you are an owner of a business, a brand, anything like that, your own personal brand is going to be essential to the success of your company. Welcome everybody to this episode of Paid to Create. I'm AJ Roberts. Alongside me is
Sarah Jenkins.
And as 2024 comes to a close, we thought we'd do a special episode and kind of give you our 2025 marketing business predictions. So
That'll be totally right and accurate.
Oh yeah, we'll probably be wrong on all 10, but these are our 10. So this is at least in our world what we see and how we feel. So let's kick it off with our first one, which is that personal branding is going to become, it's not an option anymore. It's not non-negotiable. It's like if you are an owner of a business, a brand, anything like that, your own personal brand is going to be essential to the success of your company.
Why do you think that?
I think, like, just as we look at the landscape of social media and things like that, and you actually look at buying trends, something like 60% of people are making buying decisions based on an influencer, someone they follow, someone that they like, they trust. I think that more people are looking for, when they find a brand, they want to know who owns it. They want to know, and I think people are making more decisions, buying decisions based on what they believe the person's personal ethics are, personal, like, things they support, things like that. And traditionally, a lot of businesses were scared of this stuff, right? They didn't want, like, individuals to know their personal beliefs because their personal belief didn't really represent the brand. It was just their personal belief. But I think that with the way the market is, there's enough people out there to support you, not support you, and almost that polarizing effect that it has when they do know your personal beliefs actually is just as much as a benefit now than it could be a negative. And so for every person that you offend, you gain somebody in support. And we've seen that in trends like if we look at the cancel culture trend, right? Kind of peaked 2-3 years ago. And now things that people were getting canceled for back then, now people are pushing back against. And they're not afraid to say that stuff right now, to stand up for themselves. Not as many people are as apologetic as before on the topics that they believe in. And so it was like, wait, like, I'm allowed freedom of speech too. And I think that people are just in general, like, they are looking for people that they connect to, people they feel like are their people. And because the internet is so big in terms of connecting us worldwide, it's like people are okay, like, buying a pair of boots from an American company if they're in England, if they align with, like, what that company's about, right? If it's an outdoor company that believes in the same adventure lifestyle as them, they kind of resonate with the brand, but it's the individual of the brand that they connect with.
Yeah, we've seen it go backwards too with the Budweiser, the whole thing that they did that crashed their sales, I think, by a third. They lost in sales for having those company beliefs come to a head in public, where a lot of the public that drinks their brand did not agree. So it can go the other way too. Usually it's a good thing. Usually it's, like you said, if you're looking for someone, if I'm, doing something homemade or whatever, especially because Amazon's blowing up with all these different brands you've never heard of from different countries you don't care about. When it's something homegrown, a little more natural, that's got somebody saying, oh, look, I made these myself. This is great. I only have 10. I can make 10 a year, whatever. Now it's got the exclusivity. It's got that personal touch. I wonder, though, I like questioning you. It's fun. What if you've got a brand, or you don't have a brand yet, you've got a product coming out that doesn't require a personal touch? You said, I think it's necessary, but if you sell extension cords, what are you going to do? Yeah,
so I think the problem is, for that example specifically, like an extension cord, like, you're not going to win unless you're Amazon, right? Because it's a product that's just needed, right? Yeah. Most people, when they buy an extension cord, aren't even looking at what the brand is, right?
I'm not sure what the brand is.
Yeah, so it's like, I need a 12-foot extension, outdoor extension cord, boom, buy, right? Now, if you wanted to make a splash in the extension cord world, right, you have to find a USP, like unique selling proposition. Yep. You have to be different in some way, shape, or form, right? Now, I don't know enough about that off the top of my head to come up with a USP, but it could be everything from the materials that are used, like if it was like recycled plastic, or you know, like it's friendly to the environment, or somehow makes it where you consume less electricity, right? So there's a savings thing. So you have to find that stuff. Now, how do you get attention for that?
Right.
Okay. And this is where we go back to Budweiser. Budweiser has made, in my, not like necessarily a mistake, but what they've done, that the reason they had this flip-flop, right? And they managed to kind of save the brand a little bit because they have the UFC deal. They brought in Shane Gillis, who's like arguably one of the best comedians right now, and he brings a lot of that.
He's very funny.
But it's to the blue-collar community, right? Like that's his like comedic audience is more blue-collar, like worker-type people that Bud Light targets for their buyer persona. They made the mistake with the... I'm not even sure if it's a trans woman. I'm not sure if it was just it's Mulaney or whatever her name was. The mistake they made there is like their audience is not that type of person, right? So they had a representative for the company that didn't align with the values of the audience, right? That was the issue, right?
I agree. I think it wasn't even the whole woke
because
issue.
There's a lot of brands
that's not a hardworking factory person that wants a Bud Light after a hard day's work.
If it was a makeup brand, there would probably be a lot less controversy, right?
If it was makeup, they should.
Exactly. So it was a bad choice in terms of like trying to be cool, relevant, but not understanding your audience. Now, that said, who owns Bud Light, right? We don't know.
Anheuser-Busch?
Right, but who owns that, right? Like, you can look it up, but like, if that, like, let's just say they live on a ranch. People are going to connect with that type of person for that brand, right? And so this is what I'm getting at is I think we're moving past this, the ability for individuals to have a brand that they don't actually represent, live by, believe in, and we're moving past the days of pure, what could we launch to make money, right? And I'll use the supplement industry as another example. You know, I've gone to the big shows and where the owners of the supplement companies are awarding prize money and stuff like that. And some of the biggest supplement companies have some of the biggest owners, right? And 20 years ago, like in fitness, there was a lot of people who were like, don't look in shape, who own different fitness companies. Fast forward to today, and it's becoming like where the audience is, I'm not going to listen to somebody or purchase products from somebody who doesn't live the brand. And there still is the ability to create a global brand that is faceless, but what we're seeing is it's not really faceless. They're borrowing faces, right? So,
because the Amazon, they do someone that actually use the extension cord, shows you how it works, shows you where it saves you money or looks, or it's more discreet or whatever.
You've got the Amazon stores, videos that people are doing, basically QVC online, TikTok stores, QVC online. So you're still using a personality to sell the product. And the assumption is that that personality and who they are and what they represent represents the product. Therefore, they'll purchase because there's a level of that. I think moving forward, it's going to go the next level where it's like people want to know who works for you. People want to know what they look like, right? You know, if you're running a certain business, like that business better be represented by the people, you know, and it's like kind of, I've seen this in the financial world where, you know, people are like, wait, I don't want to take financial advice from someone who's not made more money than me.
Well, yeah, that logically sort of makes a little bit of sense.
Right. But like how the entire industry is built off of people who just manage other people's money that they didn't actually have money in the first place. They made their money managing people's money. So we have a lot of industries like that. I don't know if it will happen in 2025 specifically, but we seem to be moving away from people who, like, the old saying was those who can't do teach.
Yeah.
We're moving away from that because those that do are now realizing they can also teach. So we're seeing people who have 4 or 5 brands that they've started who go, oh, I'm going to throw my hat in the ring and blow my social media up. And because they have those brands, they have the spoils of those brands, the car, the house, like they live the lifestyle. They fly private, not because they want to show it off on social media, but because they have meetings they have to go to, and they have to get on a plane, fly to New York, fly back to California, and they don't want to go through, and they do all of this stuff, and then they've suddenly started, oh, why don't I just document it? They can afford the camera crew to follow this. So none of what they're doing is fake, and then the people that are renting those things for the videos, for the stuff, like all of a sudden, those people are being very exposed because people are going, well, what's the real business you've built, right? And I think that's just from a layer of transparency that the internet has brought with social media, where at first we all believed that these lifestyles people were showing us was real. And then you start to see the cracks in the thing, and you're going, well, wait a minute. Like, most of the people who are running big businesses, like they're not out there doing this stuff while they're building the business.
You are a prime example of where this actually hits home, though, because you have a world record for lifting. Do you think maybe if you said, hey, I'd like to talk about lifting, the advantages, the disadvantages, the struggles, I'd like to be very open-minded with y'all about what supplements you need to take and how you need to watch what you eat and, you know, how you divide your day to get that goal that you're looking for. That sort of, because you have that experience and that plaque on your wall somewhere, I assume, that people do want to listen to you because you've proven you can do it and you have lived it. You've done it, right?
Yeah.
So you've got the epitome of the best personal brand, and this is why you can sell your consulting, your nutritional aspect of your life, all the things that you've done because you've already proven you've done it, right? So if you take someone that manages money, they have to have made it from their own money managed as well. Like they have to show their own portfolio. So I guess the personal brand is going to go even better. You're right. This year, I don't like shopping. I know it seems weird because I'm a girl and I like pretty shiny things, but I don't like shopping. So I'll go to the mall and I go to this store, Alice and Olivia, and I meet the sales ladies there and I just sit there and they bring me a champagne and then they show me clothes that will fit me. And they're all different sizes. There's not you're a size, 8. I'm like, boo. And like, well, this is a size 4 that will fit you. I'm like, yay. Same freaking skirt. One is more stretchy, the other one, but the sizes don't matter if you're having someone pick it for you and you don't look at them at all. You just put it on, you like, looks great, awesome. And then now I know they're talking about the owner who decided the brand and they're doing the fake leather, right? So it's more sustainable, it's more environmentally friendly, whatever. I really liked learning about the store owner when I was in there. So I've gone there 3 or 4 times and refreshed my wardrobe because they're a hand-holding, we care about you, we'll make you look your best, and the owner is very involved. And they're in every store. I don't understand how this little stupid boutique in the UTC Mall has these great employees like selling that brand based on the owner, and they're in every Neiman's, they're in every Nordstrom's, they're in every, how do you get those salespeople so enriched in your culture of your company to sell it that I care? Now I'm like, shoot, that's the only brand I really want to buy right now for businessy things and other fun accoutrement.
Well, fashion's a great example to look into if you are thinking, if you're listening, you're going, they're making a little bit of sense. I want to go deeper with this. Fashion is a great place to start because if you look at Tom Ford, right, and you,
always a good option.
You look at most of the Kate Spade, like most of the top fashion designers, like their name is their brand. Right. And the brand has grown because it is them creating. It's not like, and I'm not saying Nike hasn't done a great job. They've done a phenomenal job, right? But like Nike did it from borrowed association with athletes, right?
Yep.
Not off of the owner. Now, depending on what you
shoe every day though, someone you want to buy the shoe from.
No, depending on like what your brand is, like it may benefit you, like Sam Ovens, he partnered with Alex Hormozi for school because he never wanted to do social media, right? And I was in a business group with Sam and we talked quite a bit. And what I noticed with him was like he was doing things because he knew he needed to, but he didn't actually want to be on social media. He didn't actually want to post every day. He didn't want to do any of that stuff. And so when he moved from consulting to software, it was another way for him to step back behind the scenes and now it's not about me, it's about my product, right?
Right.
And then he got to a point where he's like, wait, I need a face. I don't want to be the face. Okay, I'll partner with someone who's cool with being a face, right? Like he partnered with the guy who already kind of had the audience and everything like that. And he got the right partner because Alex has gone all in with him. Like it's all about school. Like, he lives and breathes the brand and he provides a lot of value to the community. Yep. But my point with that is that like that product, even though it was Sam's, like didn't have a face. And then he like partnered with the right person for a face. So like that brand may work like that, But like in general, like it's easy, like the movements, the passion that you experience when you go to that personal shopper, it's because the owner is the brand. Virgin's the same way. Virgin and Richard Branson, like Richard's not involved in most of the companies, right? Because they're more like a license, very similar to Trump, where they license the name. But like, you know what is involved? Branson's personality, Branson's culture, Branson, like, and it is like an extension of Branson. So when you go Virgin, like, and you experience a Virgin product, whether it's airlines, whether it's hotels, whether it's trains, whatever it is you experience, there's like a piece of Richard that's a part of it. That cheekiness, that naughtiness, that middle finger to the bigger companies, like we do it better. Flights. Exactly. So when you think about this stuff, like that's what people need to be thinking about with their own brand, is not saying that you shouldn't have a bit like a company brand, and like it doesn't have to be one and the same, doesn't have to be the same name, but like understand that as the CEO of a company, like people will follow you before they follow your company.
I think your prediction, number one, I know you've got 10, but your number one is besides I asked why, because I like asking you why, I think it is going to be incredible to look at the company's about page. Like you don't know, they're saying the Instagram ads you're seeing could be like Gucci sunglasses, but they're not. The replicas made in China. You'll never know. They duplicate the Gucci site on the Instagram, and you think you're buying from Gucci, but you're not, right? Yeah. So everything has to be, you want to check their terms of service. You want to check where their country is located, where their ownership lies. You are getting more careful with your money because people are getting ripped off all the time with these fake products and fake ads and fake websites. And the AI is helping them. So if you get more personal, like you said, if you're selling something and you can put yourself in the shoes of your buyer, or you can relate to those buyers the right way, and it's genuine, like your about page, your company, culture. What did we say? What did we do for our company for Card Show? We did what's it called? It's our quality or our terms. Our
core values?
Yes.
Okay.
Our core values. We designed those as a company. We had everybody input their ideas of what our core values should be. And then they all believe in them. So our whole staff believes in them, right? Mm-hmm. So then when you do that for your company, whether it's growing or starting, if you, hey, we believe in it's, pleather, it's sustainability, it's recyclable, whatever, it's got more energy, lower your bill by buying this fridge. Those are the things that people are looking for now because they don't want to be fraught with fraud. Mm-hmm. It's just overwhelming fraud. And now Amazon's having everything I buy is, from Shenzhen, China, or whatever. I'm like, that's not what I wanted. I wanted at least, I know the U.S. rules to make sure its quality are right there, but I don't know that country's rules, so I don't want to buy from them until I understand what I'm purchasing, what the money's worth. Like the meme that shows Temu warehouse up in smoke and flames. It goes, we estimate that there's a loss of at least $258. So yeah, I think the personal brand, now that we're getting cautious, why do we care about where we put our money?
Yeah. I think because like the idea of consumerism has come to a point where people know it's ridiculous.
I think, the overconsumption.
And so there's the ability to make yourself feel good. Like, so very rarely do you go somewhere where it doesn't have you on a roundup to donate for charity, right? Now, I assume that money goes to charity. There's probably a bunch of benefits for the company to be giving money to charity that they get from your donation that they actually, because the donation doesn't come from Sarah Jenkins. The donation comes from Vons, right? So like on paper, you gave Vons an extra $1, but they report it as a transaction and then they give the money away. They're not, I could be completely wrong, so I don't know that business. I don't know their books, but in my experience, usually when you donate to a company, the company then donates to the charity as a whole, right? So they don't do 72 individual transactions for the day. They do one transaction from the company at the end of the day. So the company's the donator, not the individual. Otherwise, you'd be asked for your tax number and everything when you're giving it because you get credit, right? Personally, right?
Nope, don't get that.
So we don't think about that though. We go,
no charity, no.
Or you go, yes, because you like, oh, it's only $1. And that gives you this sense of giving, right? And so we see a lot.
Kids and puppies. I'm out.
Tom Shoes is a great example. Like, buy a pair of shoes, give a pair of shoes.
Oh.
You don't know it. You don't ever see those shoes given to the individual. I know Tom has videos and stuff, and they've done the documentary, so you can see all of that. But like when you purchase those shoes, it's only in your mind that somebody else is being given a pair of shoes. It's not saying you actually you don't get the extra pair and then you go give them to someone, right?
No.
They do all of that. And so, of course, you're buying a shoe at retail, they're giving a shoe at cost. And it becomes an operational cost. So again, why do we do it? I think it's because it just makes that there's this ability for us to feel good about where our money's going, feel good about spending money we shouldn't, and I think that those are things that make it easy for people to justify. People are really good at buying gifts for other people and spending more money than they should on other people because there's the happiness in giving.
That's
right. So it's not even for them, but because
it is though. It is when I give a gift, it's for me. It's to make me happy.
Yeah, exactly.
It's very selfish.
So I think that's why it matters for us, because what we don't want to do is give money to a company that then, is doing things we don't align with, because then it doesn't make us feel good. If you find out there's a company attached to child sex trafficking, you're like, oh, F that. I'm not giving my money to those people. Right? Doesn't matter what the company is, doesn't matter what they offer you. You're immediately going to be like, screw that company. And even if it's just a rumor, because it's like you're so against something. But if on the other side, that company is, supporting the orphanages of America, you go, oh, we need to give that company more money. Yeah. Right. So it's like you don't actually know how much is going, how much not. But it's just the ability to feel good about your purchases.
I hate when the media is like, oh, take it from the company, the shoplifting and stuff. Oh, it's just the big corporations. Big corporations are owned by people, families. Their income is reliant on that company doing well. It's never a big company. It's always people at the end of it. But people don't think that way right now. So they want to even more drill down to that personal story of your brand. And it's getting more and more important. Everyone just got robbed. And all the stores closed, Nordstrom's, Macy's, whatever, up in San Francisco, because everyone's like, oh, it's just a big company. They've got insurance. They can handle it. They can afford it. But it does take from somebody. It takes money from a person, a family, kids, whatever. So you have to think that way. But we don't. So you have to look at the personal brand being the biggest incentive. Yeah.
It always goes back to the fact that no matter what happens, you will pay the price. So, you can say this, you can say that, you can be like, oh, they should pay their fair share, as if they're not paying taxes already, but at the end of the day, regardless, if a corporation, a business is supposed to make money, if profits are cut, they find a way to make profit. And if that means that they have to pass that on to the user, they will. And that's why our groceries cost 3 times what they used to, because we still have people trying to make up from the downturn of COVID. We still have people trying to make up from the shortage in supplies because
they saw it. They sell eggs for $5. They used to be $2. Now they can. People will buy those, so they don't have to go back down.
Yeah, they never go back down. Yeah. The farmers don't get paid the extra, but the grocery stores keep it, So it's like, who regulates all of that? Who does that? It's beyond our thing. But what you can control for you and your business is the transparency, and that comes with the personal brand, and it just makes it easier for someone to make that decision. And yes, you will have to get comfortable with people being negative towards you, because nothing you do is going to be right for everybody and all the time. But at the end of the day, the people that believe in you, the people that support you will support you harder because they connect to you. So they're more likely to be repeat buyers. And I think that that's really what it is people are aligning with people that they feel are like them, or people they aspire to be, and then they want to support that person. And it's almost goes back to tribal culture of bargaining, where we're just helping each other. I don't think we've ever lost that as a human. That desire to be tribal and take care of our fellow man. And so it's one way. I think you asked why. I think that's another need that's being met of us, is this taking care of our fellow man. And so it becomes ridiculous, because a lot of these people that we feel that way towards don't need our money, right? But we still want to support them, or we're still proud of their mission, and we're still we agree with what they're saying. And it's a lot of people. I'm a little different, because I always think if they can do it, I can do it. But a lot of people, they don't want to be the leader, right? They want to support the leader. They want to be a part of the movement. And so that's their way of being a part of it, through their donations, through their support and purchasing things, through the sharing of their content. They do what, it's like when you go to church and you're asked, everybody's asked to volunteer, but maybe 1% of people who go to church volunteer. So it's it's like when you look at the
I did when I was a kid. That counts.
not everybody's going to tithe. Not everybody's, but like you get the people that do who do really well. So,
what is number 2?
So number 2 is basically AI becoming even more part of business. Specifically in terms of personalization. I think from a customer journey standpoint, the longer you have a relationship with a company, the more AI is going to learn, the more custom everything's going to be, from marketing messages to emails to text messages to content creation. Like, it's going to be easier to segment and customize like your marketing towards your list or your audience, because you're going to be getting a lot more
There's a lot more data.
And the AI is going to be smart enough to recognize the patterns and be like, like after a certain period, you come in and you have certain data points that make you just like, Susie Q.
Yep.
And so we go, okay, let's start Sarah here based on your clicks, your open rates, everything like that. And I think that what we're going to see is AI intelligence in terms of when to send you an email, when to send you a text message, when to give you a phone call, knowing your availability, knowing when because
never a phone call.
We've seen like levels of intelligence with advertising where like, you can do geo-targeting, and when you're close to a Starbucks, boom, you get an ad for Starbucks with a discount because they're hoping that will catch you. You'll go in
that I like.
and purchase. So we already have like these intelligent models.
Mm-hmm.
I just think it's going to go to the next level where basically like from a few questions, a few data points, or just from email opt-in, that data is already available for the AI to extract information from, and they're going to be able to purchase from Google, data that says when you open your emails. And so if there's a 2-hour window a day every day and you check those emails every 2 days, well, I'm going to be making sure you're getting a delivery at that point, because I don't want it to get lost in your inbox from the 22 hours you're not checking your emails.
I agree that this is the year the AI is going to become important, but I think it needs to be honed in. And this is the year they'll probably figure out on honing in on that data better. So Target already did it. They were sending you the pamphlets in the mail, the coupons, whatever, and they saw your purchasing history. And everyone, like when we grew up, right, in this small little areas, you only have like one Target and 30, 60 miles, whatever. So you go to the Target for your regular things. Michigan, we have Meijer as well, but you go and shop for all your regular things at the same stores, your same little community. And then they would send, what I read back in the day was Target would send someone now coupons for diapers because they already knew they were pregnant before that girl knew, because she didn't buy those tampons at the normal time or whatever. Like, they know your habits so well, it's almost scary, which now we've got the AI on the internet to do it for us, which is awesome. I even look at my Instagram. I was like, well, this is my Instagram. They're looking at like baby pony rocking horses or sparkly new boots. I'm like, I am interested in Instagram for what I can buy. Yeah. It's gotten really, really cool. But then it gets a little creepy too. I'll get an email. Hey, Sarah, we've heard that you really, enjoy doing the Legos, and that's super awesome. You love building, obviously. So let's build over here at our SaaS company, blah, blah. And I'm like, creepy. I've never posted that I like Legos until this podcast. Never. How the F do they know that about me? So I don't love it. It's way too personal. Delete, block. So if they hone it in a little bit more genuinely to what the customer wants to read, doesn't overstep. Like, oh, your third kid's about to go to college. I'm like, no. Shh, you don't get to know what my kids are up to. They do. They know. All my kids have phones too.
But I think similar to what Target did, sending you the diapers, not you, but sending
They did to me too, but it's fine.
The coupon for diapers before, that's where the intelligence is going to come in. And, it might not even be for the individual business, but like the platform you advertise on. All of a sudden, when you add your 100 buyers and you create a lookalike audience, the level of accuracy in the lookalike audience is going to get even better, right? And so like when Facebook serves your ad up, it's going to become even better in targeting the right people. And again, like it's done this to a degree, and you've seen those examples where, there's a conversation and then you get hit with the ad. And so like it's happening. I just think it's going to go even deeper, even more personalized. Like, and it's creepy to a lot of people, but some people are so unaware that it's just coincidence in their mind, right? But I think we're going to see that start to leak into the other platforms that we use to run our businesses, into our CRMs, into our project management tools, into our calendar systems. And we're going to see that. And as the more integrated all this stuff becomes, the more they have on you, the more personalized it can be.
I think it'd be more helpful. I think it's better. Like if you go to Cartwright and you say, okay, everyone uses pages, but only 50% of our people are using funnels. Then if you see that the funnel actually creates more income as the people that use the funnels after pages do, then you'll start, the AI should, at least if we program it correctly, will start marketing funnels to someone that builds their first page, right? Yeah. So then you're helping that person progress in their own business, their own company. Like if you hit pause.
Exactly. It knows exactly where you are
Yeah.
and exactly what you need right now.
Yeah. I think that'd be helpful. I think it'd be good for companies to do that would help the customer make more better availability of that product. But if you look on Amazon Prime, they just started doing it. Amazon Prime, now when you pause it, it'll have a commercial load while it's paused that's silent or whatever, and then it will say, click here to add to cart. Like when you're in your Amazon Prime, you paused it, now it's a commercial for shampoo. You can click with your remote, add a cart on your Amazon. I'm like, whoa, I really like this button.
And the ad is probably based off of something they have
that I already buy on Amazon.
You've purchased, or it's very similar, or you've talked about. You have split ends, and like all of a sudden, Amazon's advertising you the non-split ends product.
I think I need that. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that the last thing on this, when I think about it, with the personalization specifically, is take Webinar Jam for example. Right now, if you want to run a webinar, you might be in a group, or you might be in the Webinar Jam group, and you might ask people, when's the best time to run a webinar? And traditionally, you're going to get told Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday,
noon 1.
Between 10 and 1. But what if you have a list of people, and there's an AI chat, and you've been using you've been marketing to these people. And, we know when they open their emails, we know when they're online, we know all this stuff because all that data is available. And you ask your AI, when's the best time for me to run a webinar to my audience? And AI says, Thursday at 7 p.m.
Well, I'll book it then. Why not?
That is going to give you the highest chance of getting the most people on, get most conversions. So what it gives you is a level of intelligence that allows you to customize the experience to the user, but also optimize your ability to set yourself up to have the best webinar, right? And I think we're going to see that from email. I think we're going to see that through custom messaging on pages. Like when someone lands on a page, if they've been to your website before, like we kind of have behavioral adaptive marketing with Kartra, where you can hide and show based on tags. That's only going to go to another level where now you don't even have to add the tags. It's just a cookie, and the cookie's deciding what's happening, or not a cookie because we're moving away from cookies, but IP fingerprint or whatever it is. But we're going to be getting to levels, and a lot of people are probably like, it won't happen. Well, I think it's going to happen in 2025 because of the speed of the development of stuff. But basically,
it's a long year. We can get it done.
Basically, it's not going to take much, but a few things to figure out somebody pretty deep and have a pretty accurate guesstimate at first that then gets refined within a few months. And all of a sudden, every email you get is man, it's like being in that Sunday service where the pastor's talking and you're sweating because you're like, he's looking right at me. He's saying, and it's it's everybody's feeling like that. It just happens to feel like it's personal. It feels
it's a good
because
pastor.
Because the topic is very relevant, very with the time, and that's what I think we're going to see happen in terms of the AI personalization.
I think that benefits everybody. It does convince you to spend more money probably than you should, maybe budget better. But yeah, I think it's going to benefit the companies who are using it and the consumer that acknowledges it. Yeah.
I didn't say it's necessarily a good thing for consumers.
Well, I own enough shoes.
Talking to consumers, I think the next thing I think is going to change, and I think we've already seen it changing, it's going to continue to go this way, is the development of more micro communities.
Especially the personal brand on top of the AI. And then you've got a place you feel you fit and the product that fits that need that aligns with your beliefs as well. That's the power of the first two. Yeah,
and if you listen and go, what the hell is a micro community? Well, they've always said the niches.
How many companies make extension cords?
Yeah, the riches are in the niches, right? But I think we're moving to it where it's niches or niches, depending on where you're listening from in the world. But it's going to be niches within niches, right? So you take something that seems pretty niche, and then you go, okay, how do we break that down even further? And that's where we're going to see a lot of the growth, because as much as people are not unique snowflakes, we all think we are. And when it comes to like where we spend our money, the more specific and personal and exactly what we want it feels like, the more we're willing to like invest. But also the more we actually connect with the community, because it's like they are more like me, right? And use parenting as example, right? Being a better parent is a great example. Well, a parent of how many kids? Because there is a big difference between a parent of 1 kid and 2 kids, 3, 4, 5. Once you get to 5, is there any difference between 5 and 10? I don't know, right? But my point is,
budget-wise, yeah.
But if
emotionally,
but if I'm a parent and I find a group that everybody in there has 2 kids, like I do, that are very close to age, boy and a girl, and they're talking about their problems, and it's exactly what I'm experiencing. It's way better than being in a general parenting group where there's people whose kids are maybe teenagers, right? Because my kids are 4 and 6. So I don't really have those problems yet, nor do I need to know about those problems now, right? Because I'm looking for people with.
You mean Harley never steals your credit card? That's so weird.
So when Axel's being a certain way, it's coming. When Axel's being a certain way, like, I'm looking for people with parents of 4-year-olds who are going through the same thing, right? So I think micro communities are going to become, are going to grow. And I think we're going to see that's where, like, if you are pretty broad, even if you're niche, if you're pretty broad, you're going to go deeper. So like, for example, in the fitness industry, if you help gyms make money, well, what kind of gym? You know,
right.
Is it a big box gym? Is it a private facility? Is it a studio, a boot camp? And we can break all these things down, and you're going to see the rise of people who are teaching specific. So like if there's a kettlebell only studio, you're going to see the rise of like the kettlebell, like for females, like over the age of 40, right? Like, so we're going to, like, fitness is already pretty broken down. Other industries, not so much, but we're going to see these micro communities growing. We're going to see more and more people making money with smaller businesses, but they themselves will be more profitable.
See, I get overwhelmed by choice. Even when me and Andy got married, they'd show us like chargers that go under the plate. We had to pick the plate, and then it matches the tablecloth. And then I was like, holy crap, I cannot do this. So I told the wedding coordinator we hired, I was like, I need max 5 choices. And I don't care about anything. Just show me 5 choices that you think go together, and I will pick one because I can be decisive, but I get overwhelmed with choice. But when she says, okay, there's only a couple metal ones that will hold the plates better. There's only a couple that will match the tablecloth. There are a couple that are cheaper, rentable, or you can purchase them and then resell them and actually make money. I was like, oh, okay. Now you've given me choices with knowledge, right? With more information. So if we go with the personal brand, you will make more money because you've got a connection with that person you're selling to. If you go with the AI thing, you understand your connection with your customer faster and better because I understand you. And then we've got that micro area that you are living in. If you're doing the wedding chargers that are sustainable, recyclable, and even resellable, or you're doing the rental, now you own a rental company to do all those wedding things that we don't like to choose from. I think making that personal for the customer helps with the overwhelming amount of choices you have already. Mm-hmm. It's overwhelming to get 92 different extension cords on Amazon. Yeah. I don't care. And if you say one will save energy in your home and one is made in America and one is, you only need this and it will last 10 years versus 5. I'm like, okay, now I'm informed. Now I don't have to worry about the other 59 on Amazon. I want that one. I think that's where we're headed. I think it's a wise and good move. Yeah.
What's interesting, you keep going back to the extension cords.
I can't help it. I'm looking at one.
But I don't think it's a bad thing because it's just such
Everyone needs one.
Bland product, right?
Yeah.
But like applying this information, like if I am looking for an extension cord for my outdoor Christmas lights, right?
Yeah.
And I find a video of someone showing me the best extension cord and accessories
didn't get electrocuted
for outdoor Christmas
in the
lights,
rain or snow.
I am more likely to listen to them than the person who's just showing me here's the greatest outdoor extension cord, and then they're like plugging it into like a leaf blower.
That's
right?
why you can use
because
this example
I'm going
for fashion,
well, it powers a leaf blower, but will it power my 100 like strings of lights? I don't know. Like, so then I have a question, right? I have a question, and because it's unanswered, I'm hesitant. So now I need to do more research. So the micro communities, the reason they work is because it's giving me the exact answer to the exact thing that I want to know. So I'm complete. I don't need to do more research. I'm like, boom, done, boom, move on. And so even in that sense, and kind of brings me to another prediction I had later, but I think it's worth mentioning now. I think this will be number 4.
We can mess up your order.
Yeah,
It's
but
fine.
it's the educational content, right? Moving away from selling or hard selling. And we've seen this already happening, but I think we're going to see more and more educational content, meaning, and like content that sells without sell. So very similar to what we were saying earlier with Amazon stores and TikTok. It's just people showing what it does, explaining what it does, using it. Like even like from the standpoint of like, I think we're going to see more YouTube videos sponsored by companies. I've seen like Polaris paying adventure people to have their vehicle and like
cool.
use it in their videos, right? Now they're instead of, you know, being in their Toyota pickup going through the mountains, they're in the Polaris, and but they're not selling the Polaris. It's just
Showing what it's capable of.
yeah, it's brand placement. We've seen that forever, but I think it's going to be funded more to create educational content with brand placement. And I think that that's going to be a big shift as well, especially with people who are building the personal brand, micro communities, because it's easier to influence. You know, people want to wear what you wear. They want to like buy what you buy. They want the watch, the car, it's all very influential.
JK, I don't sell anything but software.
Yeah.
Fun.
But even with software, we were talking earlier, right, about how education, like
Is key.
software is the shovel. It's a tool. But if you don't know what you're supposed to do with the tool, what good is it? So how do you get people to know what to do with a tool? Well, they need a map. And if you're relying on someone else to give them the map, that person may not be recommending your tool. So what do you end up doing? You end up as a software company creating the educational piece so that you bring awareness to the problem, the solution. The solution is the product.
I love that you think that we buy because of a problem. No, we do. What else?
Let's see. So number 5, let's go with so high ticket products like
Okay.
courses, things like that, which in our world we see all the time, right? You know, $5,000, $10,000 online courses. I think we're going to see high ticket, but people are going to want high touch. So they're going to want more.
What do you mean?
They're going to expect that if they're investing more, that they're also being invested in back. So that the course creator, the guru, whatever, is invested in their success and helping them reach that success. And I think that courses that have a in-person component, whether that's a 3-day event at the end of it, or there's like Q&A weekly, like Zoom calls, like there's going to be more expectation if people are giving you a large amount of money. That, and it doesn't have to be high touch, doesn't mean high time,
Right.
but it means that like if a person like invests, like they expect to have a quality product, and they expect the person who sold it to them to be available in some way, shape, or form. I think that the high ticket industry was like that. And then it became super popular to be high ticket,
Right.
and it moved to expensive course model. So you're just paying 10 grand for something that used to be 2 grand, but there's no additional stuff to it, right? And I think that's done and dusted. I think people are tired of spending a lot of money for what they could have bought in a book, right? And so I think expectations are going to change, and that's going to be the people who survive and continue to sell high ticket. It's because there's a high level of access to them, or like a high level of success that you are creating through like, and it might not be you, but like you may have like personal coaches for each person that check in. You know, I went through a course once, and like the main guy taught it in the morning. It was like an hour, and then he had coaches that like you 2-3 hours later, you would have a phone call with the coach to go over the call, to ask questions, to make sure that you then implemented it before the next day. So I think we're going to see more and more stuff like that. And the expectation is going to be greater of like, if I'm giving you, 5-10 grand, like I'm actually getting a result from it. And that's going to be an expectation.
Well, we've seen that a couple of times go really well. And it's I think you're right, probably going to become more popular because if you spend $2,000 on the course and you can learn, take notes at home, but if you have any questions, you just bought the course. Yeah. But if you buy consulting masterminds and stuff like that, then you get to sit in the room with the people that only have to teach one element of the class, then bring in other teachers to teach you the same or different things that they are not the expert on. We did it with Roland Fraser's War Room with Ryan Dice and Richard Linder. We had Richard's running the company from the presidential arena of like hiring, firing, growth, look at all this stuff. And then, Ryan's doing all the marketing and then Roland's looking at the M&A part of it. And so they all have the aspect of the company that you can ask them about and they're all experts in that one area. And then the first week we joined, I mean, obviously Roland's a friend of mine. I can ask him anything I want, but I really appreciated that they put me and you in a room with all four of them. They're like, hey, what do you need? You just joined. Great. How can we get you the assistance through people in our mastermind already? Or what do you need from us? We are experts in these areas. I was like, man, that was so cool. We got an hour and a half just to sit with them and say, they're like, what do you need from us? I was like, that was amazing. And then actually, I like to call my little brother. He's my bigger brother, but he's younger. He does the financial management for Mattson Money. And they're very salesy with the way that Mattson does his events, but they're very educational as well. And then what Josh does as the tier of the mastermind or the Mattson Money financial thing is he goes, every month, if you give me any money to invest, we're going to have a scheduled call. And we're going to talk about every item in that statement that you have a question about. So we're teaching you where your money's going and why and what return does that mean. And we pay them like a little more of a point on the transactions or whatever, but they said, because we're not just transacting your money for you, we're actually teaching you where it goes and why it's important and why you shouldn't just trust us. You should learn about it yourself and say, are we making the right moves for you? Do you have any advice for us on where your money should go? If you go here, here, and here, and it doesn't make the same, but you believe in this country more than this country, maybe we'll put it here anyway and see what it does and talk about it next month. So it's consulting financial management. And I think that is more important than giving it, to any Bank of America to here's, $10,000, do what you have to do. It's like, well, every month they're going to get their fees every month, whether it goes up and down, all the market. But if you go with someone that's more of a consulting, same thing with insurance, if you're getting life insurance and stuff, you have that consulting part of it. Yeah, you're paying that money and you're getting that actual personal phone call. You're learning from that one-on-one, which is becoming more and more important. Where is your money? Where is it going?
Well, I think also too, building off what you said, the reality is if you look at, we mentioned AI and personalization, that's fine for marketing.
Yep.
But once I buy your product, if it just feels like AI created the product and there's no personal engagement, like I'm going to feel like I'm going to potentially think, wait, like what did I actually just buy? Because I could have just talked to ChatGTP. So I think that information, and I'll separate information and education here.
Okay.
I think information for information is going to be so easily available that the separation...
But overwhelming.
Overwhelming, right?
Yeah.
Which then comes the education is there's an educator who's specifically teaching something that then is helpful. But the personal brand adds to this because experience becomes the separator. So I'm not paying you now for the information. I am because you're giving me the information. But that's not really what I want from you. What I actually want from you is your experience guidance because you have answers to questions that I haven't faced yet because you've already been there and done that. And going back to what I said earlier, I think those without experience are going to be exposed and they're going to disappear. Because AI has exposed the ability, anybody can create content with no knowledge now. You just go to AI and say, hey, imagine you're a social media expert. Like, tell me what I should do for the next 30 days. Well, how hard would it be like, imagine I'm a social media expert. Tell me what this company should do for the next 30 days and then sell yourself as a social, right? So there's that, right? But what happens when it doesn't work? If you have no experience, you have no answer. Right? Now, of course, you go back to ChatGTP and say, hey, this didn't work. Like, what other ideas do you have? But like experience comes in because let's say you do that and you get a plan, like an experienced social media manager will look at it and be like, nah, it's not going to work.
Probably not, no.
Or like these 5 things will work, these 10 things won't, right? That's where experience. So if you invest in my course and I'm working with you and you're like, hey, I did this and this was my result, like you're expecting me to give you feedback based on where you need to go next, right?
Look, if I want to learn about lifting, do I buy your book or do I talk to you?
Yeah. Well, you might buy the book first, but then if you have questions, what do? Right? But what you'll pay for a book versus what you'd pay to ask me a question, two totally different things. So again, go back, high ticket, high touch. I think is going to be, I don't think it's going to be an option. I think it's just going to be what expectation by the buyer, and it'll put a lot of people who don't necessarily know their shit or who don't want to have that level of interaction, they'll be forced to lower their prices because their information will just become a commodity. It will become readily available because there'll be a lot of. The truth is it doesn't take much to become an expert in a topic. It takes a little bit of a session, couple of weeks learning something, and you know most people. Expertise, really mastery, especially, really becomes in the practice of the thing, right? And I think that's where we're going to see a difference. Is we're going to stop trusting people who know the information but don't apply the information, and we're going to start leaning into the people who have mastered it through experience, who can tell you that worked 5 years ago, it won't work today. Here's why.
Right. Yeah, that's why the info gets outdated if you're talking about tech.
Yeah. This next one, I've already seen it happen, and I think we're going to see a bigger push towards it. I think we're going to go back to quality over quantity. I think the endless amounts of content creation,
it gets old.
It's surface level, and people want to go deeper. And with most of the short form video content being created as short form video content, oftentimes there's nothing to click to go watch the rest of the video, right?
Okay, that's fair. I gave you a sandwich and you couldn't go click and watch how I made it.
Right. So the sandwich was delicious. But I think what we're going to see is people returning towards more long form content that then they'll maybe shape their short form content around to push to the long form content. But I think we're going to see good quality video coming back. And again, the reason is it's become so easy for anybody. I mean, my daughter got a kid's camera for Christmas. Cute. And it shoots videos. This morning she showed us the selfie video she made talking about, she talked about so many different things, but talking about how Christmas isn't about just gifts. And then at the end she's like, well, thanks for listening, guys. And she says something.com.
She's copying you.
So I'm like, I don't know if it's one of the cartoon shows she opened, gave content, and closed. And amazing. She's 6, does not go on the internet, does not have any of these apps, she doesn't watch TikTok, she doesn't watch YouTube, she doesn't do any of that stuff. And so my point is my 6-year-old can turn a camera around and shoot a selfie video. She
can't read yet.
So that's cool. But, I think we're going to see, it is a value hierarchy, but I think that if you want to make the most amount of money, you're going to have to start to professionalize and become more of a production and actually take the time to edit and make your videos good. And I think we're going to go back to that. That doesn't mean that someone can't do good with just their camera, just their phone or something like that. Again, quality of information over quantity of information is also going to win. So just because you have a professional video, if it's terrible in terms of value, it doesn't make a difference. But I think that we'll see people spending more time on long form again, less time on short form. And I think that the long form that people have been using who do short form, which a lot of times is just like a presentation from some conference they're speaking at, they're not going to get away with that because nobody wants to sit for an hour when they're not a roofer to listen to a presentation for roofers to try to extract the golden nuggets. So I think we're going to see some changes there. I think we're going to see more long form content, more quality content over just quantity. And I think we've already seen that with a lot of creators who, were talking about every topic under the sun, and they were getting big reach, but they weren't getting monetization off of that.
The quality
They started focusing in on the messaging to the market, and their reach went down, but their monetization went up because now they're getting the right people. And I think we're seeing a return to that. And I think that the value of that becomes greater because there is so much short form content out there.
It's overwhelming. It's when you get overwhelming bits of mail, coupons, your penny saver, whatever, you just throw it out. You're like, it's too much to try to figure out what I need, why, coupon, where to go, when, by noon, Thursday. No, time is money. The more we realize that, the more that the quality, personalization, the niche that you want and giving the quality content so people will buy quality item from you, respect it, like it, continue to buy from you is where it's going to be important because we are overwhelmed.
Yeah. And also people like, once they like you, they want to go deeper with you. So
that's what she said. Could nailed it. I could nailed it.
I thought we were going to get through the whole year without one of those.
I'm still here.
No, but the like if I see an Instagram short of someone, like I don't necessarily want to keep watching like little shorts. Like I want to go deeper in the content, and if they don't have that like long form content out there for me to consume, like a lot of times I'm not following people for their short form content. It gets my attention. It gets a like, but in terms of like me just seeing like their little like 30-second idea videos, it doesn't provide enough value for me to then like watch those over and over. And, you know, especially when they're dumping 20 a day, it's like, you know, I'm missing most of it.
One product is one thing.
It's not for that, but if you don't have that process, if you don't have that, how do you take someone who gets interested and move them along? I think we're going to lose it. So I think long form content will become, instead of people thinking about what short form to create, they'll create their long form and then say, what can we create that promotes that in short form?
Learn more, click here.
Yeah, exactly. All right, next one. I think we're at number 7.
Favorite number?
Hybrid business model. So I think that, and like we've been saying this forever, but I think we're going to see more offline businesses and actually online businesses adding offline or online component.
What do you mean?
So for example, if I join a gym, the gym's going to also have a membership site that I get access to that has at-home workouts for the days I can't get to the gym. So now, instead of Peloton being a competitor, I've just eliminated them because they don't have a gym. They don't have a place someone can go train, but I'd have a gym and I have an app or a website, whatever you want to have. But I think we're going to see a lot of these. And then vice versa, we're going to see online businesses that have strictly been online before start to create physical locations or events that people can come to. So, you know, if you're an online trainer, and you like, then you don't have a gym, maybe you open a gym. If you're online like yoga instructor that doesn't have a yoga studio, maybe you have a yoga retreat that you run. So I think we're going to see, and again, it goes back to people wanting more connection. It goes back to wanting a community to be a part of. I think that like there's online communities that like people would happily meet up, and oftentimes online communities will do meetups in cities independently.
Oh, I think it's adorable.
So I think we're going to see more hybrid like engagement where they're not thinking, oh, we're an offline business like a chiropractor, so they just come and they get adjusted, and then we'll maybe have an online component where I'm selling like a low back solution. No. I'm talking about the merging of the two so that like we are engaged with our audience beyond the time they're actually with us, whether it's a coaching call on Zoom or a personal training session in person. How do we then go for the other 23 hours? And I think that's where each side is going to be leveraging the other to create these opportunities to expand their relationship with the individual.
Oh, that opens up a whole wealth of questions you probably don't want. I think that's really interesting. There's some careers that don't offer that online and in-person stuff as much, but I think I am seeing it. So we've got this new Dr. Hartnett decided she's the CEO of this pop-up shop, and she's got doctors. If you want an extra day where you're not at work, you can go and you get paid to be there for the day, and you're a doctor on site for the 2 offices they have, or you can do the Zoom call or whatever. But they spend so much. They said the quality of that is that you spend 30 minutes with the doctor. And the notes they take are extensive. And then when you come back, do you want to see the same doctor? Or if the doctor's not in, we have another one that will read all your notes before you come in and give you that handheld service instead of just going to your neighborhood hospital. Unfortunately, we always are going to need a plethora of doctors. But and it's cost me the same. So my insurance will pay for my visit to the Health Net, and then I will talk to the doctor for 30 minutes. And she'll be like, what else do you need help with? Like, what else are you here for? I understand that you need this, this, and this, but how are you in these areas? Yeah. And I'm like, man, that personalization stuff, even when it costs me nothing extra, is huge. I always go back to them. And I don't see the same doctors because they're not always available. But the quality of the work that they're giving is part of that brand. And it's that personal care. We'll call you. We'll make sure your prescriptions are in. We'll ask you how you're feeling after. We've got follow-up emails. Like, it's crazy how they made this into a niche business. that's personalized and it's healthcare. It's like, I think we should go in every area we can that level.
Yeah, I mean, for think about it. You're deathly sick. You got a cough. You can't stop your nose from running. You feel like you're going to throw up. The last thing you want to do is drive to the doctor's office or urgent care, whatever, and sit there for 2 hours waiting for a doctor. And then when you finally get taken back by the nurse, you're now sitting in a room for another 30 minutes. The doctor comes in for 3 minutes, says, yes, you're sick. Here's your prescription. And then you've got to drive if you had to drive yourself, you got to drive yourself all the way home. But you stop by the pharmacy to pick up your subscription, then you go home. Okay. There's going to be times we need to go to the doctor, right?
Yeah.
When you're pregnant, you got to go get checked, to make sure everything's moving along. They got to put the ultrasound on you. So you're going to the doctors, right? But when you're sick, and the last thing you want to do is get in the car, it would be a lot easier just to fire up a Zoom call on the phone and have a conversation with the doctor for the 30 minutes that you actually spend with the doctor. No other time from your side, so you don't have to leave your bed. Then this prescription's ordered. It's at the pharmacy, and of course now you can get it delivered, right? So without leaving your house, you've got everything you need. That's what I'm talking about.
But I didn't want the doctor in demand. It was 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Like 5 minutes. Tell me your symptoms. Okay, I'll write your prescription. I'm like, well, okay, first of all, I didn't have the flu. I didn't get tested. The flu pill they told me to take didn't help at all. It was actually COVID. But they're like, just this Zoom, 5 minutes. Oh, okay, you've got these symptoms. Yeah, you probably got a flu. I'll give you this prescription. I'm like, well, I don't know. Try harder. Care more. Yeah. So I liked that this other healthcare thing was doing the 30 minutes. Like, well, how else are you feeling? Are you cool with this? Well, what do you think of this? There's these side effects, but we could try these or these or these. You know, it was more in depth. I think we have to. That will succeed greater than the on-demand doctor for 5 minutes.
Yeah, and especially if it's an on-demand doctor that you never can go see in person.
Right. Or again, you never see a doctor again.
Yeah, or you never have that conversation with that same person. Because familiarity creates a lot of trust, right? And especially when it comes to doctors, we trust them a lot on a lot of things that we probably shouldn't trust them on because, doctors are like every industry. You've got the doctors that stay on top of everything, and then you got the doctors who got their degree 20 years ago and have read one journal maybe, if they're lucky, whatever they had to do
they're
to keep their lives.
But all right.
So anyway, I think we're going to see a lot more hybrid businesses.
Very interesting.
Next one, number 8, membership model. I think we're going to see a lot of products, courses, services move from fees like, an upfront $200, $1,000, $5,000 to a membership model where the company's making recurring revenue.
Yeah.
It's less to you on a monthly basis, more to you lifetime value. So it's better for the company in that sense too. But I think that people are getting very used to subscriptions. They are preferring subscriptions because it's an easier way to manage their finances. And also with a subscription, there's not all this pressure to consume everything immediately, right? And the subscription model also allows you to build a community. Because a lot of times if you're selling a product or something like that, it might be a one-time buyer. But if I'm selling a subscription or a membership, there's usually more that goes with it, benefits, perks, et cetera, et cetera. And I mean, you've seen this with a lot of businesses where they have you can basically do this, or if you join the club or the whatever, you get all these peaks, VIP, and it's usually worth it. You look at it and you go, oh, it's not that expensive and it's worth it. So I think we're going to see a lot more things roll out in that monthly payment model versus upfront fees and stuff like that.
If they follow the other things that we predicted for the personalization, the micro niche, and then the quality over quantity, if they follow that and they do the recurring income, the monthly subscription thing, I think that's a great thing. That's what we're seeing with all of the Netflix, HBO, Disney, whatever. They have to have more content. They have to have good content or you're going to cancel. That's the epitome of the revenue model that I can pull that people will just cancel whenever it's not going well and then buy it right back again when the show they want to see is there. Yeah. But I don't love it because then everything is going to cost you over and over and over again. Yeah. Everything. But it makes a little more sense because if you do it right, then everything that you're budgeting for, that you've gotten everything needed, you don't need to go anywhere else. If it's the revenue model, the membership model, every month when you're getting what you need from that, if it's a gym, you've got your online classes, so your I moved away or I can't get to the gym is not an excuse to cancel. They've got your nutritional platform, you put in what you eat, and it'll show you where your calories are, whatever. If they've got those other things involved, you don't need to look at another gym. You don't need to look at this price is too much because you do still need those workouts, that nutritional, accountability, all that stuff. So I think, yeah, unfortunately, the membership model is coming for all of us in different ways. They're even saying furniture now is rented. It's not owned. I'm like, that might be good because your fridge breaks every 4 years now instead of every 30.
I mean, the car industry has really pushed for this towards their lease model too. Like the sticker prices you see on cars now, $499, and you think to yourself, and then you go and it says lease for $499. You know, if you want to purchase it, it's going to be like $9.99 a month, and so
unless you love it,
yeah, and I think that people who have to purchase based on price, right? They have to be more mindful of what they're buying, what they're spending. That they know they're gonna the whole leasing is fleecing. That's the saying, right?
Dude.
And the reason is because you don't own the asset. It's depreciating. Every 2 years you get the new one, so you never pay off the car, right? The idea of purchasing is I buy the car, after 72 months it's mine, right?
And then it doesn't work anymore.
Well, I mean, you've got a couple years, maybe 5-6 years with a vehicle.
Maybe.
But yes, you're going to start paying for repairs.
Dude.
And you're going to probably have had to change the tires quite a few times, which is a big investment. So yeah, but very similar to a house. But the idea is that, you have this asset. But what people are realizing when we use the car is okay, with the lease, I don't get to own the vehicle, so I'm going to forever have a payment. But they're like, but I get a new vehicle every 2 years.
That drives me nuts, and I love it and hate it. I've had a couple cars that I purchased, and by the time I was done paying them off, the car started breaking. And then I have a brand new Expedition. I've never bought a brand new car. I bought a brand new Expedition extended because I've got the 5 kids. We've got the nanny and her 3 kids, so we've got to put someone somewhere. But things started breaking, like the door sensor, the starter, and it's less than 3 years old. Mm-hmm. How the heck do I drive that much that those little things are breaking? I think that's why the lease model's starting to make some sense.
Well, things aren't made to last. But
I want them to last.
But we no longer
Where's our station wagon?
We no longer remember how long things lasted for.
They put trees on a station wagon and it lasted forever.
When you buy a couch, I grew up and I think my parents changed the couch once in 16 years. I could be wrong.
No, you're probably right.
But I don't remember having a new couch very often at all.
They're expensive.
But now it's when you talk to people in that industry, they expect people to buy a couch every 2 to 3 years.
Well, I have to. I got the 5 kids.
So
and dogs.
if you go in and you look and it's a $5,000 couch, which people are probably like, whoa, if you haven't looked at couches recently, $5,000 couch is not some fancy thing. It's a very normal couch, right? So with that in mind, the point I'm making here is if you buy it and you have 3 years payments, after those 3 years, you're probably buying another one anyway. So you never actually get out of the payments. And so it's not like a home that actually goes up in value where you might be at a profit or at least break even or at least use it to leverage into the next bigger home. With a vehicle, you're usually going to lose money unless it's a supercar that holds its value, and that's a whole different conversation. But the reality is I think people are getting to the point where they don't necessarily want to own stuff because they just know it's not going to last. So what's the point? And I think that with autonomous cars coming, this is probably not next year because of regulations, but there's I believe San Francisco and Austin right now have driverless Ubers. They're been approved to be tested in those cities. So we actually have driverless Ubers right now. There's going to come a time where you don't even, it's not a lease. You just pay a fee and you book the time you need the car. It'll pick you up, drop you off at work, and then go do its next job. And so there'll come a point where even with the subscription, we don't actually, there's nothing we own, right? And that's kind of the way things are going. There'll always be people who profit because I'll be the guy who owns all the driverless cars, right? Or this business or that business. But I think what we're seeing, and take a book, for example. You write a book, it's a moment in time, right? And in 5 years, it could be relevant if it's timeless information, or it could be completely irrelevant because everything's changed, right? So, for example, if you're writing a book about investing right now, right? You've got crypto, you got stock market, you got all these things, right? But what if, we don't know, but what if something like crypto, a new thing is born in the next 2-3 years, like your book now is missing something. That's
How long
like,
ago was it Tupperware plastic?
If you
and
wrote
now
a
no
book
plastic?
20 years ago, there's nothing about crypto in it, right? So, and that's
Probably
getting into
not.
waters of information I'm not really up to date on, or not even up to date. I'm not very knowledgeable on that stuff. I pay other people basically, so I don't have to learn this stuff. But my point is, what I'm making is your book could be out of date in 5 years, right? So now, of course, you could do an updated version, etc. But what if people never actually bought the book? Like, what if they paid you $4.99 a month and you've got the foundations of the book, but it's constantly being updated, constantly adding new information, relevant information based on headlines. So, and that's what we see with like social media. Instagram's added their little subscription model. Yep. YouTube's added their little subscription model. And so people are charging $4.99, $9.99 a month for exclusive content. But like in reality, like it's because people realize things are always changing. There's always new stuff and they don't want to be left behind. So I think the subscription models are going to continue to grow. I think we're going to see a lot. We have it in our industries that we're involved in already. I think we'll see more. I think mainstream, we're going to see more and more stuff moving towards subscription model.
I don't love it, but I do love it. I get it. It's important.
Yeah. Number 9, this one's a quick one, and then we'll move on to number 10. Number 9 for me is marketing transparency. I think we're moving to an age where rules and regulations are going to come down a lot harder on charlatans, scammers, people who inflate the truth. And I don't know necessarily if it will be the government that goes after individuals or if the governments require advertising platforms or even like YouTube. Like, well, I guess YouTube is an advertising platform, depending on how you look at it, but platforms that people can post content. Mm-hmm. Where there's going, like, of course, there's freedom of speech, and then there's
to a point.
Lying, right?
Yeah.
And I can't tell you how many ads I see of people basically saying, let me show you how to make 7 figures. And now, not that millionaires are as rare as people think, right? But the truth is that I guarantee for every 10 ads I see, one of those may have actually made the money they're claiming, right? Or know how, or have actually gotten results for somebody where they can make that claim, right? And I think that what we're going to see is the government cracking down on platforms like Facebook, YouTube, Google, because they do have the data and the intelligence, and they're going to require those platforms to fact check what is being advertised, because false advertising is illegal. And, you know, I had a friend who lost everything, and I don't even think he had false advertising. He just used a study that was done overseas, which you cannot do to making a claim in America. Interesting. And so because it was an American study funded by his company, it was an overseas study with, like, the government can't check that, right? There's no way to go down the rabbit hole and make sure this is a legit study. He got busted for false advertising and literally lost 2 companies, all the real estate he owned, everything. They took everything from him. And because he did try to fight it, so there's like, he could have done better, but my point is that, like, false advertising is nothing to mess around with.
Was it the cure for cancer?
And there's a lot more Bernie Madoffs out there than people realize, and I think that is going to be coming to an end. You know? Yeah,
but then you got people that have a differing opinion on some studies that they've read about medical stuff, and they post it and it gets taken down because someone doesn't agree with it, and they've got more money to take it down.
Yeah, that I don't agree with. but like
the caveat.
Yeah, I mean it's different, right? When you're telling someone like, "Oh, I'm going to show you how to make 7 figures." That's a very specific claim versus saying like, you know, I disagree that masks actually protect you, right? Yeah. Like,
but there's no line. So the government says that we're going to fact check and we're going to shut you down, take everything that you've made from this false advertising, or where's the line? Well,
different organizations monitor different things, but you're right. There has to be clear establishments. But I think that, you know, I don't think you should be able to make any claim unless you actually have some form of thing to back it up.
I was going to say, so if you follow the model we just laid out, right? If you've got the personalization, you've got the AI telling you how to make the video that makes sense. I saw this thing on Instagram this morning. It's like, do you have a cold or a fever? Tie a bag of cut up onions to your feet with a plastic bag. Someone's like, plastic, oh no. And then you'll be over your sickness in the day. And it was like all these comments. Yeah, that's what I did. Yeah, that's what I did. It's just an onion attached to your foot when you're sleeping. It was the weirdest thing ever. But if you have somebody says, no, that's not going to work. You have to get the Flonase from this company, this brand, whatever, to get rid of your flu. And they said, well, no, because look, here I'm sniffling and now I have the video, putting it on the next day. I'm clear. So you actually have done it. They can't touch your use, right? If you can prove you did it, I guess.
To that point.
That makes sense.
We are moving. Wasn't on my sheet, but I think you're going to have some opinions on it too.
Maybe.
I think people, when I say that things are going to get regulated more, I'm specifically talking about people who are purposely lying.
Right.
Right.
Like scamming.
I think though,
spamming and scamming, no good.
Government, news, organizations, pharmacy, big food, all of those people that try to squash truth because they want to run a different narrative in terms of like you said, like, you know, don't use an onion, like go buy some fucking pharmacy product, right? I think people
medically tested. I
think those companies are going to be in for a rude awakening. I saw a little clip. I can't even remember what it was, but he quoted something, and the guy he's a street interview, and the guy says, where do you get that information from? Like, who says that? And he's like, New York Times, CNN.
Yep.
He goes, oh, so the false media. Like, we don't believe that shit. Like, we don't go to those sources anymore for our information. Like, they're not trusted. And I think that that's where we'll go along with the marketing transparency. I think, like, things that work that tries to get squished because, like, for example, I use mushrooms, right? Magic mushrooms grow in the ground, right? Now, you can create a synthetic version and whatever, but like in reality, mushrooms just grow in the ground and people go foraging for them and collect them, people grow them. I don't know which ones
to pick.
All right. No, but people who do, right? And they do this. Now, for PTSD, for things like that, there's been groups who are doing this, and it is shown that will cure your PTSD with a couple doses, boom, good to go. There's other psychedelics that cure issues, right? Proven. And people are having to go to other countries to do this stuff. Now, that information has been kept and been buried, and the whole banning of psychedelics was a movement in itself, you know, push against it because people were getting too awakened. But we can no longer, because of internet, because of how fast information can spread, we can no longer create misinformation that doesn't eventually get exposed in a record amount of time. So the CVID stuff, and I say that so we don't get censored at this point, but a lot of stuff that was said, and, you know, you were basically called, like, you were anti-human and, like, you know,
totally.
You're like a huge risk to the world because you didn't do this or you didn't do that or you thought about this. All of a sudden, here we are, not even 5 years out, and all of that stuff is being exposed. And the people who said certain things have been questioned on whether they said that, and they're like, I never said that. And then the clip of them saying that is shown by its side.
Don't pull Trump this early.
So my point is that, like, I think that, I guess this could morph into one prediction. I think truth is going to prevail, and I think we're going to see things in place to, in our industry specific with marketing, to make sure that the truth is coming out and being shared, and there's not, like, you know, this bait and switch and clickbaity and, like, lies. But I also think in general, we're going to see a huge shift where, like, truth prevails, and, you know, people aren't going to be able to say certain things because they're on CNN or Fox or one of these channels, and other people just take it as word because they're seen as an authority. I think those days have gone. Well,
I've got two things that are problems there. If the government's going to crack down on misinformation, then why are they allowed to own and trade stocks as it is? So I don't trust them either.
I think that might end.
I really hope it does. I think if you're a public servant, how dare you try to make money off the rules that you're creating to benefit
you see there's products. A Pelosi fund now? So you're not like the S&P 500? So someone's created an S&P 500 type fund, group grouping
Yeah.
of stocks, and it's all stuff that Pelosi's buying and selling.
Yeah, but it's after. So
And-
it's already bought 15
but it's
days
still
later.
performing better than any other grouping that exists in the stock, despite the 14-day delay of public knowledge. How crazy is that?
I can't even. So you've got the government controlling things that they actually control for their own financial benefit, which is a problem as it is.
Yeah, well, I'm not going to say too much. This episode will get blacklisted, but
I actually wouldn't mind that.
we give a lot of money away to other countries that somehow works its way back to the companies that our government are invested in.
The other problem with that on the yeah, right, I know. Let's all just trade it round and round we go.
I mean, it seems like money laundering to me, but what do I know?
No, it's trading money for favors, etc. Not bribe, not extortion.
That's why
Those are
Hawaii
silly
and
words.
North Carolina are still disasters,
They're awesome
because
places
there's no
to not
kickback from
live.
those places.
Nope. And then the other thing, though, is you have these laws that are, if you violate your fiduciary duties, if you say something that's the truth about your product and it does lower your income, you can be sued by the other owners of your company, even though you're supposed to hide the truth because it doesn't benefit your wallet. I don't understand that, and I don't agree with it.
I think that we'll see this play out on a large scale with a certain Elon Musk and his board.
Well, okay, so we had the whole
I think we're
thing.
going to witness this over the next 4 years. Like, that's just my opinion.
With the cancel thing, like somebody does something wrong, we all do something wrong, but then it's on a billboard in New York City, so you can't hide it, and you're totally canceled. Everyone hates you. Not that they've ever done anything wrong themselves, right? They never have, obviously. But then you go with, why didn't we just say, this is what this person is doing? Like this person that is selling all the best cars and says they're the best models ever only owns horses, right? So now we've got it out there, and this person is now on a billboard in New York City riding a horse, doesn't own any car, not one at all. Now we've let the nation know the truth, and they are going to stop buying that person's cars. So at least the cancel culture doesn't have to be, we're canceling them, F that guy, we're not giving them any money. It could actually work itself out naturally with your own ability to have to resonate with your audience and where you put your money.
Yeah. I think that's what we're really witnessing as a culture, beyond marketing, sales, business, is what we're witnessing is the lies, manipulation, the ability to fool people, control people in a mass way. Like, what we're seeing is that breakdown. And unfortunately, well, not, it depends on how you look at it, but with the pandemic, like, we saw
example.
how quickly people were controlled. But the problem with that is because it was all done under lies, and it was, and like, here's the thing, right? Instead of saying, all it takes is, hey, we're gonna put a 6-foot rule in place. We don't have the research. We don't
To show
know
that it's necessary.
if this
or
is
6 feet's
if
enough.
this is actually. We don't know how well this is going to help. We think, based on our experience and knowledge, that this is a safe distance and it will help curve the spread. And so we are putting this in place, and we want and hope that you will support it, because we cannot beat this without everybody. Like, instead of being honest, transparent, and just saying, look, we don't know everything, but we think if you wear a mask, if you distance 6 feet, if you go out as little as possible, avoid gatherings, we think this is going to make a big impact, right? Versus if we just ignore it, it's going to be bad. And we know it's going to be bad because it's already heading that direction. It's only going to get worse. So here's what we think we need to do. They made statements of fact, right? And they basically said, if you don't do this, you are basically a murderer to other people, right? That's the tonality they used.
I didn't love that part. No.
And so here we come now. If there was a pandemic next week, now a lot of people would still listen, because I still see
don't
people.
know that they
I still
would.
see people driving in their car with masks. So
That's
there's
a
still
tricky
people
one.
who are so in fear that even though the truth has come out, they believe what they were told first, which is actually a very marketing 101. People believe the first thing they hear about something. So you can tell someone a false lie if they've never heard anything about it before. It's very difficult for them to change their mind, right? And so, that's what we're seeing, is people who, like, that was what they were told, so they believe it. And when the evidence come out, they still go, well, it might not completely, but it does do something. And it's like, well, actually, it says it does nothing. And they're like, no, it doesn't do nothing.
Well, if I yell in your
right?
face and I yell at you from across the parking lot, you're not going to get my germs.
Maybe not. Depends on the direction
Well,
of the
if
wind.
there's a fan behind me
Exactly,
blowing the
right.
wind that way, maybe.
But what I'm getting at is, if there was a pandemic next week,
Mm-hmm.
there's going to be way less people that actually believe it, pay attention to it, follow the guidelines. Why? Because last time they did, and it all came out that it wasn't true, and it came out too fast, right? So they've wanted to bury these results for 100 years or whatever it was in terms of like the research and everything that went into this. And class action lawsuits are going to happen. You know, those records are going to be overturned. Like it becomes harder to
it's the same thing as the guy selling cars on a horse. The guys that are saying stay home didn't stay home, had private parties, and all got caught, which, you know, whatever.
Yeah. And so this stuff's just being exposed at a rapid pace, quicker and quicker. And so I just believe that at the end of the day, that the transparency, but it's almost forced because people demand it. You know, it's like this move to like buy American. Like it doesn't count if you import something and stamp it with Made in America because you put the design on the T-shirt.
That is what happens at Walmart. When you look at the T-shirt, it says Made in America. It's got the American flag on the tag, and you look at it from China. I'm like, wait a minute.
Yeah. So, like those things are just gonna like, and it doesn't mean people aren't gonna buy the product, but like you can't say one thing and it not be true. And I think that that's all that we're getting at is we're getting to a point where people are tired of seeing the lies. They're more aware than ever that they're being lied to. I mean, if you got a text message and it said something, you know, oh, your UPS package is for delivery, and the phone number is +66, so it's not even an American phone number. Like, who is believing that today? Because we've been getting those text messages for like 4 or 5 years now.
Me and Ricky got one an hour apart.
Yeah,
the same one.
I'm sure that
we all owe Fast Track.
Like older people who aren't paying attention, like they get some people. That's why it's still happening, but the amount of people they got when they first started versus the amount of people they get now, radically different because we just have all become exposed to it. We've talked about it. We've shared it. Like we all know different people have been scammed, but like, do they get scammed a second time by the same thing? Well, no, not once they're aware of it. And so the internet's new in our life, right? It's 25 years old. You know, most people, they haven't had it that long because even though it came out, it wasn't like everybody had access to it. It wasn't even like an enjoyable experience.
No, we took turns and your phone was down.
You'd just sit there, and then your dad would pick up the phone and it would drop because he needed to make a phone call. You're like, Dad!
My Tamagotchi chat is over.
Yeah, so the AOL, like just random people, no idea who they are. But the whole point of that is just, I think that we're moving towards this transparency in marketing, transparency in advertising, transparency in results. And, you know, like, it's like, I think, and this is the mistake, we're in a very make money online biz op like world. We see a lot of this stuff. And I think the problem is that when, you know, let's go back when I first got in it, like you would see a lot of things like how to make $10,000 a month. And that's still the desire of a lot of people is like, okay, I'd love to get to $10,000 a month. Like for some people, if they made $5,000 a month, to completely replace their income, you know. But as the successful online marketers became more successful and went from $10,000 a month to $100,000 a month to $1 million a month or more, the lower end, newer marketers came in. And instead of being like, oh, I'm going to show you how to make $10,000 a month, they see the A-list marketers advertising their 8-figure blueprint, and they go, well, I'll have a 7-figure blueprint, you know? And right. it's like, well, I've learned this information from a millionaire, so it must be right. And it's like, you know, it's just the way it is.
And so you teach, but you've actually done it. That's why when you teach, it makes sense.
The biggest threat of AI is that we're feeding it information. So, like, how does AI determine false and real information? It doesn't, unless a human trains what's. So the whole idea of transparency, I think, is also going to be regulated at a high level because as AI develops, what we don't want is the ability for people to falsify information and, like, essentially, if you looked at it like a bad apple seed, right? Like you got this system you've created that's curating information and of truth and like sharing it out, and then all of a sudden someone's able to infiltrate it with this lie. It ruins the whole thing, right? So I think because of the way technology and AI is developing, because of the way accountability and, you know, we live in a country where lawyers look for opportunity, right?
Yeah, they do.
I think we're going to see all of this stuff. We're starting to essentially see the era of the internet move into a more mature stage. And of course, that's going to come with checks and balances like any civilization. You know, when a civilization is new versus 100 years. I mean, look at America, where we are, from where we started to where, like, you know, the country was founded to where it is now. I mean, it's night and day.
You can't regulate as fast as we grow. They haven't regulated crypto like they will or should or shouldn't. They haven't regulated. They just said nobody under 14 can ride an e-bike in San Diego. New law this year. E-bike. Because e-bikes are a problem and kids are dying because they're not trained to ride a bike. I think they probably should have installed a bike promo, like a bike riding course that kids, when they take it, then understand the rules of the road and they can ride the bike and they've got their permit for the bike, whatever. But that's probably too much money from our...
My son got to eat like a electric motorcycle for Christmas. So.
Oh, no. My son has an e-bike and he rides it to school himself every day. I don't have to get up and take him. It's awesome. So they're developing laws as we go. But the AI, I am so sick of seeing AI videos that don't mean anything. I'm sick of it. So if they say, hey, if it's AI, a video, you have to say that on the video. I wish that was the rule.
Yeah. Well, I think that we'll see more regulation, and we talked about this on a previous episode. But like the reality is that I don't know how much the government themselves have embraced AI, and so they've put it in the hands of the developers, and
none of them are too old.
I think that the issue is they don't understand fully what could happen, and it doesn't take much for someone to take it the wrong way or like do the wrong thing. So, you know, can we prevent it? I don't really know, but like other countries have better regulation than we do.
Yeah.
In terms of what it's allowed to do, what it's not allowed to do, you know, and I think that just like you said, like we are pretty much reactive over here versus proactive. And I think we're moving into a very reactive phase with all of this stuff.
But if you're a proactive marketer and understanding where the nation's coming from and what they're looking for, and you're going above and beyond in those little areas we already talked about, that's going to be success.
Yeah, exactly. All right, let's get to the last one. I don't know how
you have another one?
Number 10.
Oh, okay.
Left the best to last.
I thought we messed around with all your numbers. Okay.
No, I think we're going to see gamification become like a staple of course creators and, you know, like info, education, knowledge-based business.
I want that so bad. I always drive and we use Waze, and it's owned by Google, so you can go to Google Maps to get the same stuff. But this one gives you a character. Mine is a Ghostbusters car right now. You can have the voice be Queen Elizabeth, whatever, telling you to turn right here.
That's pretty good.
It's so good.
That's pretty good.
Thank you. God rest your soul. But I love it. And then I get points. I'm a King Wazer. And I've even had, like, I'm talking to someone else that uses Waze too. And I'm like, well, what's your score? I'm like, well, I have more awards than you. I'm like, my score is higher. It's just a competing little game that helps you drive safer, where the construction is, where the fog is, where the cops are. Definitely. But it's fun. It makes it fun. So if you
I
use a
don't have
driving
that
app,
relationship
dude,
with Google Maps.
I have to make sure you use Waze. It's just, and I'm going to beat you on score. But like, it's fun, right? It gives you that gamifying is fun. Competition is fun. Working with each other and being, I mean, my little brother, who's much bigger than me, we were 14 months apart, and we competed on everything from jumping higher, swimming, running faster, chess games, putting the map together faster on this little stupid wooden puzzle. It's fun. And so you gamify things in your business. You gamify things when you're done reading the Kindle books, which chapter, you get the star, you get the pages are now blue or pink, whatever you choose. Like, you make it more modified. It's so cool. And it keeps your customers happier and they stay with you longer.
Yeah. I think that
I don't endorse Waze, but I love it.
in an ideal world,
Bold statement.
like if you have something you sell somebody, your assumption is they're going to consume it. They're going to use it.
Yeah.
Right? But we know that a lot of people buy, and then for whatever reason, they don't do anything with it. And so if your goal is to...
First of all, I joined a gym and the weight loss already happened.
Yeah.
Just did.
If your goal is just to sell and make money, that's great. But we're moving into a world where anybody can sell and anybody can make money. There's no barrier to entry. Well, technically, the barrier to entry is an internet connection and a phone, right? So there's people who don't have that. So we still have an advantage in the world. There's people without phones or internet still.
I don't know. I've been to the Bahamas slums in Mexico where there's no house; it's a box. They still have a cell phone.
There is
and
still
internet.
a tribe that's who still kill people if
They're
you try to
probably
get there.
happier.
So there is people. They probably are happy. But so anyway, the gamification piece. If you're actually wanting to help people and get results, you have to also understand where we are as a culture, people's attention span, the amount of distractions people have, et cetera, et cetera. So the question you got to ask yourself, because there's no right answer. Like if you create something of value and people choose not to consume it, that's on them. You technically did your part. But if you're truly invested in actually helping people, you'll start to think beyond what they should do and start to think about how do you get them to actually perform those behaviors. And that's where if you're a coach, consultant, or an expert who wants to build a long-term relationship, not a one-time transactional relationship,
Yep.
that's where you have to ask yourself, is there more I can do to help my consumer, right? It used to be if you made video, if you understood learning styles, you would give a transcript, you would create a workbook, you would go above and beyond so that different learning styles would do well. So gamification, reward system, badges, just little things like they complete a video and celebratory on the page, like congratulations, you did it.
I want a crown. It's
all
a
of these
fictional crown, but I get it.
feel good and pat on the back stuff. Like it comes because we have a weak culture that needs encouragement, needs praise, needs all this stuff
all the time.
But you can either work with where we are or you can say, oh, they should do this, right? You will be more successful meeting people where they're at, using tools to actually get them to go where they want to go. And yes, for some people, it's like it seems like you're doing a lot and you're pushing them uphill. But for the long-term relationship, if you can get them to that tipping point where they do go over and now the gamification is irrelevant because they're so sold on what you're doing, and they get to that tipping point and you create success with that person, they're not just a success story, they become an advocate. And so they go out there and, I bought 100 programs and this is the first one I completed. Well, it may have been the first one they completed because you happen to reward them for each step. So while it doesn't make any sense because they paid you money and they should go through, be like paying for college and never going to a class. Guess what? There's people that do that, mostly because they're not paying for it, someone else is. But the reality is like you as a content creator, course creator, educator, whatever that is, like they're buying from you and you have the ability to change their life. And if you actually take the extra steps to get as many people as you can over that tipping point that you've promised, like your business will grow and you'll succeed. And I think it will be a separator. And so other people who choose not to do this because they're like, it's not my responsibility.
Sure.
They won't survive.
Hey, do you want to write a book or do you want to have a coaching course? Not if it follows. I would say these are great predictions for 2025, but they're also great predictions on how to increase your success. If you're doing the niche market, if you're doing the personalized service, if you're doing the monthly membership, the only way you're going to keep them when you're doing the gamifying is doing the personalized service by doing the high value, high touch, right? So if you follow actually all these things that we just laid out, this is a recipe for success in 2025, even if it doesn't trend, but I think you're probably right. It is trending.
Yeah. All right. Beautiful wrap up. All right, everyone.
I know.
We'll see you sometime 2025.
Yep. Success.